Welcome back to my channel. Today is the day for those of you who are interested about how to get into the Stanford MBA program, the most mysterious, competitive, and coolest program in the world with incredibly low admission rate of only 6% every year. I was the only applicant admitted to the GSB from Hong Kong in my year 2017. Watch this video till the end because I'm gonna share exactly what I wrote in my Stanford MBA essay, and hopefully it can be a source of inspiration for some of you. If you like what I'm talking about here, like and subscribe. First things first, Stanford is famous for asking almost the same essay question every year. Essay A's question is, what matters most to you and why? Essay B's question is, why Stanford? The total word limit is 1,050 words for both essays combined. After reading through essay questions of most MBA programs, I found Stanford is the most simple but also the most profound. What matters most to you is really asking about your understanding of your identity and the meaning of life. The school believes every individual is unique, and they're genuinely curious about your life story more than anything else. Wait, don't you find that's quite a lot for an MBA essay? It's kind of like you go on a first date with someone, and the first question a person asks is, so tell me about your life. What person or life incident shaped who you are today? Who the hell are you? Well, I guess it is what it is. Stanford is just a super direct first date of yours. You have to deal with it. So for the rest of the video, I'm gonna focus on essay A because it's much harder than essay B, which in my opinion is pretty templatized. In essay B, you basically just need to talk about your career goals, your favorite Stanford professor, class, and student club, and maybe mention a few alumni you have spoken to. The goal is to show that you have done your homework and you are genuinely interested in the school. If you ask me what is the secret sauce of answering what matters most to you, my answer will be exactly the same as what Mulan told Po in Kung Fu Panda.
Come here. The secret ingredient is nothing.
Huh? You heard me. Nothing. There is no secret ingredient.
So a lot of people struggle to answer this question and they're worried their answers are not unique enough. And to be honest, it really doesn't matter. There is no secret ingredients here. You just wanted to tell a story that is true to you and that is cohesive with the rest of your MBA essay. I have edited my essay A for a total of 12 times. After roughly version 8, I had this strong feeling, this is it. I've also heard that people would cry reading their own essay. It's definitely not me, but I guess at a minimum, if you had a feeling that this is it, I think it's a good sign. To answer what matters most to you, I iterated my answer 5 times. At the very beginning, I focused on authenticity. So my answer was, what matters most to me is to be true to myself and to empower people to do so. And then I want to put more emphasis on empowerment instead of authenticity, and then it becomes, what matters most to me is to be empowered through empowering people. Well, it started to get very mouthful. So then I changed back to just empowering others. Then I wanted to explain what exact results I wanted to achieve, so my answer was, what matters most to me is empowering people to realize their potentials. Finally, I landed on, what matters most to me is to empower others to realize their full potential. If you have watched my previous videos, you know that I'm a big fan of the why, what, how framework. No surprise, I also applied to my GSB essay. So I started off explaining why what matters most to me is to empower others to realize their potentials. It has to do with my upbringing and family. It's very, very common for essay A to start with childhood stories because they usually shape who we are as adults. Okay, let's take a look. On a freezing night last winter, I was sitting in front of my father crying as he explained, "You can't quit investment banking." Disappointed by the transactional nature of my job, I was trying to convince him of my calling to the education field. My father is a strong-willed professor who, as the first university student from his small town in central China, instilled in me a deep admiration for educators, and I always sought to live up to his expectations. However, what matters most to me is empowering people, including myself, to realize our full potential. On this particular night, I wanted to help my father break through social constraints to find more happiness in life, realize my potential, and be true to myself. It's kind of embarrassing to read your essay after so many years in public, but I guess I'm doing it for all of you, so the benefit outweighs the awkwardness. One thing I want to call out that I found pretty handy is creative writing skills, especially for MBA essays. So in addition to just talking about the facts, I also blend in some specifics about the timing of the conversations, the emotions, the exact word we use, so those specifics actually make the essay much more memorable, so I recommend you to give it a try as well. So then I talk about what does empowering others to realize our potentials actually mean to me. Starting my career in banking, I found myself with 2 lives. A seemingly decent life of a high-achieving banker and a deeply struggling life constantly searching for meaning. It wasn't only when I came across a British life coach who had beat breast cancer through sheer resilience 23 years earlier that I felt truly inspired. I realized that my most fulfilling moments were not closing landmark transactions, but through my voluntary services, helping children regain confidence and surpass their goals. She also convinced me of the importance of listening to my calling rather than simply being successful in the traditional sense. This epiphany fed my belief that the education system in Asia has many merits, but does a very poor job of enabling self-discovery. Whew. That is the what. Then I'm going to talk about how my exploration journey actually looks like. If you ever talk to a consultant, you'll very quickly notice that they always talk in 3 bullet points. That's what I call rule of 3. Since admission officers have to read 7,000 essays a year, so I decided to help them out a little bit and apply the rule of 3 so that my essay is much easier to read for them. Oh god, I still have one more application to go. Oh, thank God, this one is so easy. Oh, I can get out of here and take care of my 2-year-old. And maybe they let me in because I let them go home early that day. Alright, next, let's look at the beginning and the end of the 3 stories I included in the rest of my essay. The opportunity to make real change in this arena presented itself when I worked with a team to found ETU School, an innovative primary school known as the Old School in China. And then I talk about the details about the school founding experiences. And then I close out this paragraph by talking about how founding ETU School was my first step in empowering people to realize their potentials and towards transforming China's education system. And then the second story started off tying into the beginning story where I was talking about the life coaching. So working as a life coach in my spare time catalyzed my decision to found this primary school, as I believe a majority of life coaching tasks should start much earlier in people's lives. And I still remember my first life coaching client, blah, 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 who I met at JP Morgan when I was an investment banker. And I closed it out by talking about the lesson I learned from coaching have brought valuable inputs to my school founding experience, but also inspired me to deepen the meaning of my professional life a lot. So then I talk about the third story about how I use what matters most to me in empowering people at work. So in investment banking, juniors are frequently burnt out and have limited opportunities, time, and energy to pursue personal growth. So I started the first personal development program in my department. And then I talk about like exactly what I did and the impact, and close it out by mentioning the learnings, which is it revealed the limitation of people empowerment in the workplace, motivating me to make a much more fundamental impact through education, which ties to what I'm going to talk about in SAB about why I want to go to Stanford and also do a dual degree between MBA and the Master of Education program. You may have noticed at this point I didn't talk about any investment banking stories. So as an investment banker with 5 years of experience, I didn't mention a single time where I worked with the CEO to close billion-dollar M&A transactions, because even though how glamorous those stories sound, it doesn't really contribute to my storyline. So I decided to leave them out. So you're not expected to list out all the shiny projects you work on, but don't get me wrong, achievements are really important for SAA as well. You still wanted to mention the impact and the results you have achieved, but you only wanted to list out those that are relevant to your storyline. If you realize that your work experience can hardly form that cohesive storyline, that's totally fine. Many people mention that MBA application is the perfect opportunity for them to reflect on who they are and where they want to go. I would recommend you start digging from your past professional and personal experience. Sometimes it's also helpful to try new adventures while preparing for your MBA, so that you not only know better about yourself, but also have more stories to write in your essay. So after going through all the stories, I'm finishing off SAA with a very brief ending, which reiterated what matters most to me and why. Following what matters most to me, empowering people to realize their full potential, has allowed me to extend the width of my life, advance the well-being of my community, and embrace a way to change the world. GSB really care about their mantra, change lives, change organizations, and change the world. So this is a pun. So I hope you enjoy reading my GSB essay. To summarize, the 3 key takeaways. First and foremost, write authentic stories that are true to you. If you take away nothing else from this video, this is the most important thing. There is no secret ingredients, just write your own story. Forget about what the admission officers wanted to read and what other people is going to write. Focus on what really shaped who you are, and that would be your perfect answer. So second, use specific but concise language. You wanted to give some specifics to help the readers visualize the story, but you don't want to give too much detail that really bore the readers. Last but not least, tell 3 to 4 stories that can contribute to your main theme and dare to leave those irrelevant and shiny achievements out. Don't forget, you can always cover them in other parts of your application, for example, resume and recommendation letters. Best of luck with your application. I'll see you at Stanford.